Assalamu alaikum. Today we will be discussing one of the modern figures in modern English poetry, W.B. Yeats, born 1865, died 1939. This is his photo, a young Irish poet. Briefly, his biography: he was born in Dublin, but as a young man he was raised up in London, joined the Rhymers Club, which provided him with the romantic symbolic poetry. Sligo is the Irish city which nourished him with the folklore and the Irish culture, and Dublin definitely instilled in him the national spirit. The style of Walter Butler Yeats could be distinguished in two periods: the early and the late. The early usually is known as romantic, symbolic, and lack of insight, whereas the late period we could recognize the depth in his style and in his treatment of the themes and the national spirit of an Irish poet. Sailing to Byzantium is the poem in target. Was written 1928. This poem is highly significant and imaginative, as he uses the idea of sailing, which could refer to the difficulty and ambiguity of his journey. Definitely the journey to Byzantium is an imaginative journey, and Byzantium is considered historically the center of Christianity and knowledge. The themes in this poem are different. The main one is the generation gap between the old generation of artists, mainly poets, versus the young generation, and the idea of art, nature, especially the sea and the bird, the city and history with the emperor image. Poetry definitely is the topic here, the idea of imprisonment with the image of the bird, and sensuality, which could distinguish the young generation, and the intellectuality, which could refer to the old artists. The young generation are sensual. They cannot appreciate the intellectual art of the old. The imagery could be seen in the fish and the flesh or the fowl. This is a reference to the sensuality. The monuments is a reference to the intellectuality, which the young generation cannot understand because they are engaged in sensual matters. The tattered coat is an object of scaring the poet because he is questing truth, facing reality, and he is the young generation are scared of. Byzantium is the imaginative place where he intends to go for the sake of nourishing himself with more knowledge. The idea of gold bird and drowsy emperor are images highly significant in the poem. The poet is like a bird, but he is imprisoned. The singing of the birds is like the words or the images the poet uses, tries to awaken people and the emperors. This is a direct criticism against the authorities at the time. The message behind this poem is the quest for knowledge on the side of the poet. The target is enrichment for the sake of convincing the young generation to write a powerful poetry.